This is the Real Estate Investing Abundance Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Allen. I know you're excited to get into today's show, but I have a very exciting announcement to share with you before moving to the show. We've just launched a complimentary and comprehensive webinar that, among other things, shows you how to legally use passive real estate investing to reduce your taxes, recession-proof your nest egg, and take the sting out of inflation. If you are curious to learn more, go to stevetalker.com/webinar. It is complimentary and only takes a couple of minutes of your time. Once again, that is stevetalker.com/webinar. I'll see you in the webinar. Enjoy today's show. Hello, enlightened investors. Welcome back to Real Estate Investing Abundance. I'm your host, Dr. Allen, and delighted to be back with you again today. We're going to take a look at Voltage's market research, brand building, and account management services, and how they can help us to develop our Amazon business to the next level. Our guest is the co-founder and CEO of Voltage Digital Marketing. He launches, operates, and grows private label e-commerce businesses. He and his clients have sold over 100 million in physical products, primarily through Amazon FBA sales channel. He shares his blueprint for how to build an online business that can generate a passive, almost automated six-figure income in just 12 to 18 months, and how to set up that business for potentially millions in sales in the following 18 to 24 months. Welcome, Neil Twa. So, Neil, take us into the show and share an experience from your life that helped you to be who you are today.
Sure. Thanks, Alan. I appreciate you bringing me back on. It's been a little while since we last talked, and so much is changing so fast in just the last year. I'll save the stuff that maybe my mom is interested in, and we'll go jump forward to something that's more of interest maybe to people who are listening to your podcast. But the building and the growth and the learning curve of coming from a blue collar working family into someone who has created businesses that have generated millions of dollars is quite a stretch in all knowledge and education and learning and experience compared to where I grew up in Oregon. My dad's a good hard working guy, 30 years at the same business, 81 years old now, and just strong as an ox. But he never really taught me about finances and money, and to speak about that in the house was sort of a disrespectful thing. If we talked about it, it was more like, hey, you're not respecting what dad does, and we just don't talk about that. Whereas in other households and in our household now, money is an object of conversation in terms of its use, its applicability, how we manage it, and what we do with it is kind of an everyday topic. Plus, I homeschool my girls with my wife here on about 45 acres in the country. And we have a 1,500 square foot garden. It's about 100 feet by 50 foot. In fact, I was out there this morning, came in and showered to be on this call today because I was out with my girls working in the garden this morning. We've got about 32 rows that are about 30 foot long. That we grow everything from okra to tomatoes to all kinds of stuff. So horticulture and grounds, and then we go riding on Thursdays with the girl, and we live on a homestead, so we are very busy all the time. We run lifestyle as a business. I think it's the most important way to understand the way that we operate is not something that's completely unusual and is not unattainable by anybody who really wants to go after it, quite honestly. E-commerce was the way that allowed me to occur. It's the way that I was kind of broke out of the natural cycle of go get a job, get an education, and do that route. E-commerce was a way for me to scope business and opportunity. And part of that came off of, understanding the corporate world, where I spent about 13 years of my life before I left the corporate world up through IBM, learned how all that worked, and then realized, well, that was soul sucking. And needed to get out of that as fast as possible. And then just jumped out with both feet in 2007 when they said, hey, here's your pink slip or go to Argentina. And I'm like, I'll take the early retirement. Thank you very much. And I'm done with that. So I've always had sort of an entrepreneurial spirit. I just never knew how to hone it or what to do with it. I was mowing lawns when I was a kid to make some extra money. And so I always knew that work and money could be generated through my efforts, but I never understood the power of passive or development income, real estate income, almost automated income through certain mechanisms of operations and business, where I can obviously reach millions of people without having to work 80 hours a week, who can buy my products. And so it's a very surreal thing to still remember how all that was and how it is now. And to not forget, where the basic principles and fundamentals of life and value are and what is considered wealth to me now versus what is considered wealth to the guy in the past. If you ask me that question, it would be two very different answers. Wealth for me is now family. It's life. It's the health of my children. It's the ability for us to spend time together every day. It's a focused and intentional lifestyle that we stay focused on. And it wasn't easy. And it took a bankruptcy to get to where we are. We're not like talking about just rags to riches, but we're also not talking about a very straight pathway to success either. It came with a pretty rocky road. And a lot of life lessons in the school of hard knocks that I had to learn along the way. So I don't know if that's answering your question, but hopefully giving a little insight as to where I've come from and where I'm at least, and maybe where we can talk about where we're going and what we're doing.
Well, before we go into your business, just give us a brief idea of you got this boost from your company, either take early retirement or move. Right. To where you did not want to move to. So that was the boost. But what generated the concept and the idea that, I could be successful on my own as an entrepreneur?
There's a little bit of a rich dad, poor dad experience in my life. I mentioned my father, who was obviously my dad. And he taught me a lot about, sounds right. Just to be very clear in today's world, what that means. My birth father, yes. But my uncle, who was more entrepreneurial in spirit, he was less of a job guy. He was more of a go out and just kind of do things kind of guy. And when he got back from his military tour, he was a Green Beret in the Army. He set up shop in San Diego and started to build boats. Didn't go the traditional route, and he started to work in a shop, and that shop got a little bigger, and he started to sell people boats. And I got to watch that process and him develop that, and got to speak with him and think and talk to him very differently than my dad, because he thought about things very differently. And I'd never had anybody to really, conceptualize and talk and learn from and mentor by. Or be mentored by, I should say. And so because of that process, I started to think things differently. So even though I was going in the corporate world at that point, I was into Sprint and having, decent success in the corporate world and raising up in that business within Sprint's mobile division that had just launched, and we were helping launch the first mobile phones. That was a really cool experience to stay within, but I was being mentored by him about how to deal with business, even in the corporate world, because it was a relationship driven thing. I never understood that. I understood it as a work and ethic driven, task based, trade your time for money thing. But he understood it from the business and relationship and development relationship in a very simple phrase he taught me. It's not what you know that gets you there. It's who you know that gets you there and what you know that keeps you there. And so if you don't know it, figure it out and find out who you can relationship develop with, and then figure out what they're doing, and then follow them, and then follow the next person. And as you see somebody leveling up, just keep following the next person and keep leveling up. And it was a really simple thought process that he knew instinctually and I didn't. And so he taught me, and so I've relationship developed, and that helped me get an opportunity to basically get a walk into IBM through a friendship and a partnership. I'd done very good work, of course, but then when I went to apply, it was like a 10-minute interview. And it's like, hey, welcome to IBM. No degree, only experience based, and now I'm in IBM, as a management consultant. Being in the business, high tech, and industry and mobile industry, I was flying around the world, helping companies set up their mobile divisions and knowledge management systems and all this stuff. It's really cool, but The catalyst really was just the thinking, the difference, and the way he did that. And as he continued to grow that business and it became successful, and he was doing really cool things. His boats set the speed record from San Diego to Hawaii. He created an innovative and unique design for a sailboat, and it just made it that much faster. And so he got that notoriety, and because of that, the business did very well. And from that, the relationships did better. And as we, got into the years where I started to go out on my own, he accidentally died in a plane crash in 2005, a couple of years before. And that was one of the major catalysts that led me to saying, when IBM was like, hey, let's go. I'm like, this is the moment. Like, this was 2 years later. I have not got a mentor anymore, but I know that this is all the stuff I can do. And so I just felt the confidence in my relationship through him to go out and just say, he taught me enough about going to do this. I'm just going to go figure it out. And find out who your relationship develop with, and figure the rest out as I go. So I just dove out.
Yeah, well, that takes a lot of courage, but it certainly is nice to have mentors there that can inspire and lead the way. And it would have been nice if your uncle had not passed away 2 years before taking that leap, and he probably could have given you some good advice.
It would have given me probably a little more guardrails than I took in the first 5 years of my business. Where I could have used that support, help, and that ability to call him up and talk with him and say, hey, here's what I'm doing, or what you think, or here's what's happening. And he wasn't there anymore to have those questions with. So for a little bit, I floundered trying to figure out, who could be that mentor for me next. And I didn't find that person for the first 3-4 years of business. And then I discovered him. And he kind of brought me under his wing there in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where we were living, and taught me a lot more about sales and business development than I'd ever learned before. And in that process, I started to be able to sell my own business better and more succinct, got my offering down a little stronger. And then by the time you get to 2009 or so, I have 2010-ish, I got about 10 management consultants in my firm at that point. And through his help of business development and what my uncle had taught me, I was doing pretty well at that point.
Well, you certainly have done very well and have developed a very successful company and a unique plan for not only putting forth your business interests, but also helping others to get there as well. So tell us about your business.
Well, in simple terms, we launch, we grow, we build profitably e-commerce companies. We start on the Amazon channel first to validate and incubate a brand that no one's ever heard of. And we leverage Amazon's similarity and familiarity and trust of its platform to leverage a new brand. Once that new brand becomes more popular and we dial in the profitability and we reach at least 7 figures in sales through that channel through optimizations and just, product and product development and brand development within it, then we'll multi-channel. We'll move into an omni or multi-channel, which means we'll go out to a Shopify store, a website, or we'll go out to retail, or we'll go into other marketplaces, or we might even wholesale that product to other locations where we open multiple sales channels once the brand is proven. And from there, then the business grows. Growth can take 24 to 36 months, depending upon how fast you're moving product and how fast the product is adopting. And additional sales channels add a valuation increase. So as we move from a single channel to a multi-channel, we add on 1 point in the valuation process, which in essence doubles the value of the business, even if it's only 5% of the total revenues for that new channel. And the valuation of the company goes quite a bit higher, and it becomes an exit opportunity in 36 months when all those pieces come together. As long as profitability is above 15 to 20% at the net margin, very bottom, EBITDA, then we can get a great valuation for that company. So we help people. We do it ourselves. We follow the process. I have operators within my infrastructure that do with me. I have no more employees. I have no warehouse anymore, no square. I had 20,000 square foot of warehouse in Utah. But as I mentioned before, I learned how to get better optimized in my processes and business systems to pull out employees and pull out warehouses and pull out needs so that literally I can run this from a laptop. I can run it from the country with my family. I can run it from anywhere, literally, and have been able to teach others how to go do that at scale and give them an opportunity to run in kind of what I call a triple win. Which would be, they have a platform and a mentoring group similar to the way I didn't have that mentoring instruction. I now offer that along with my senior management consultants that work. There's 5 of them that work in Voltage to basically build a critical path of success for the business growth from the beginning with the end in mind. And we help them structure each component along that pathway. If they've never done it before or they've never built an e-com company, we ensure the fundamentals are met in the business and the trademarks and all the necessary components to be successful, and including the product development and other things to help them really understand how it works and what we should sell and who to sell it to. Very important, right? And of course, making it profitable, extremely important. So profitability is a big component of understanding how to build this business and pay yourself and see growth with it. And then the win is they get a business that stood up, they become an operator and a CEO of that company. We don't take any ownership in that company. I want them to be successful on their own. I ultimately don't want them to become dependent on me. I want them to become a part of my network. As that relationship-driven thing was brought up by my mentor, bringing people into my network is net worth and vice versa, relationships, developments, joint ventures, options to help manage companies that are already doing 150 million a year in sales. Those have all come through the relationship driven aspect of what we do. And because of that, I still let 5 to 7 people come in every month. It doesn't always match that much. Sometimes you have a little more and sometimes I don't qualify anybody in a month, but I'm always looking for the right people, quality over quantity. I make them do a disc assessment process and they talk to me, and I want to make sure that they have the time, energy, and attention required, that they are the right aptitude of my most successful builders, and that, of course, money plays a factor in terms of the growth, the startup, and the ability to really run this. So they're not bringing limiting beliefs in, Alan. A lot of people bring limiting beliefs to their company, and that actually what stops them from growing has nothing to do with the business, the product, or the trajectory of the brand. It has to do with the mindset, the skill set, as well as the risk of the person running the business to reach the next level the business is capable of doing, but they simply hold it back because of their fears. And there's a lot of limitations in these kinds of models if those people fail to understand that risk correctly. And that's how we are able to really get down in the details of coaching and mentoring and advisory with them to pull them through those unknowns so they're willing to go as fast as the business can go. If they unlock that mindset, really, because it's not the mechanics that make money, then the real end in the end, the triple win here is that business is sellable. It is a saleable asset they've developed, and it's worth multiples of what they put into it. Voltage will look at buying that company through our investment group. And when we do that, we'll take over full ownership. So they not only have a growth, but an extra trajectory. They have a buyer already, because a lot of times when you build a company, one of the questions you might have is, who do I sell it to? Where would I go? Who do I trust? We build it up through the network. Someone would invest in that company. Voltage takes over the management of operations. We're going to move it to another level of investment group that can, form home offices, family offices, et cetera. They won't deploy less than 25 million. And once we can get that business up to that point, we know the next level of investor is there to purchase that company. And they may take us along, or they may remove us. And so that's how the triple win sort of works. We give everybody a complete runway and then teach them how to do it all again. Because once capital and knowledge capital are in place, they can go back and do it even faster. And it can become a multi-franchise kind of deal. And in the real estate world, for those who are listening, it's virtual real estate. I can plant my brand flag on multiple places online until an infinite opportunity exists. And each time I can innovate a new brand to whatever scalability I can do and repeat that process. Right. And it's not like it's limited, but I can repeat it and grow it every 36 months, 36 months, and just keep doing it over and over again. Sometimes I can run parallel brands, 2 or 3 at a time, and grow those up and sell them as a portfolio. And so the opportunity literally becomes kind of an infinite wealth building strategy within ecom to have, 4, 5, 6, 7 streams of income in one location that you can control, manage, and understand, know how to capitalize, know how to exit, and then just continue to repeat that process. As you know, to get to true wealth is to have at least 6 to 7 multiple streams of revenue running. And of course, to get them into an active or passive situation as much as possible by dropping operators into that. So we teach them how to build operations, SOPs, and the OKRs necessary to build up scalability. Or we'll even help them bring in operators from our channel to take it from an active to a passive investment until the time of exit. And the operator kind of just flows through with the exit. So it makes it relatively simple. That make sense?
Yes, it does. And you mentioned, since this is a real estate investing podcast, you mentioned that real estate investors could take advantage of this particular model. Can you give us a specific example how a real estate investor could go through this process and develop their brand?
Yeah. Well, if you're real estate, if you're into Airbnbs, if you're short term, if you're into flipping properties, or if you're into holding properties, or even if you're into multi-tenant, you understand the concept of physical assets and the appreciation of that asset, depending upon which time frame you're actually going to appreciate the asset, whether or not you're going to purchase, hold it, and short term it, or whether or not you're going to bring it up to a multi-tenant, bring in multiple investors, get your capacity to 80%, and then go cut the ground and build the property. Ecom is very similar to that process. As my real estate agents, brokers, short-term rental guys develop those cash flows, they're always looking to either deploy it back into what they know, or they're looking to invest in other ways to diversify their income, right? To create other alternative of wealth without Wall Street. And ecom seems, in a lot of their minds, it's very logical to move into a physical asset-driven business model like ecom, because they're already working with physical assets in the real estate world. The major difference is quantity and availability of that. In the world of ecom, I'm not limited to the amount of products I can produce. In the world of real estate, there may be so many people who are going after that product, or so many pieces of property I can get, or so many amount of capital I can deploy at a certain amount of time based on what I'm doing, REI or whatever. So in this case, the physical inventory limitations are kind of gone, because I can create and develop as much product as I need to supply the market. Unlike real estate, I don't have necessarily a 1-to-1 or a 1-to-5 ratio on the amount of people that could purchase my products. I have a 1-to-million in ecom. I have a 1 to multiple millions in ecom. So my ability to reach a larger audience and reach growth and scalability becomes more automated in that process. Because I have myself literally going into a platform with 150 million buyers spending $700 million a day. So my economies of scale become greater, faster than someone who's developing or holding properties for 3, 5, or 10 years. There could be a larger cash out at times, but at the same time, as ecom goes up 12, 24, and 36 months, I can have an 8-figure or a 7-figure cash out in 36 months. Right, Daniel is about to be one of those guys. He's got a dirt golf course, he calls it dirt management degree, and a theology subdegree, and he's never really used any of it. Never selling any products at all. He was trained through us, and in 36 months, he'll be at 8 figures at the end of this year. And he has a 7-figure offer multiple 7-figure offer on the table for his business. It's generational wealth change, right? And he now knows how to go and reproduce and plant that flag and go and put a new brand, new real estate, if you will, in a virtual real estate with physical product. Same way we can depreciate assets of physical products in our world, you do the real estate the same way. We can do the same thing with physical products on our side. So there are a lot of similarities. If people who are in the real estate world understand that, we're just simply planting a virtual flag instead of a physical land or property. And we're not flipping the property one time. We're flipping the property every 10, 20, 30 days, depending upon how fast it turns over. And we're doing that multiple times. So it's a very logical step. Literally, it has been for all of my real estate friends to understand the value and opportunity of the time, energy, and money and effort it would take to ramp up a virtual real estate physical product deal while doing simple real estate deals on the backside too.
Enlightened investors, if you haven't done so already, be sure and click that like button and also click that share so others can take advantage of the content. And finally, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single one of our upcoming episodes. Well, Neil, can you take us through an actual case study of one of the businesses that you have helped to build?
Yeah. Let's see. There's a bunch of them I'm racing through my mind. Which one would I share? Okay, so just a while ago, not too long ago, we built a baby brand called Mother Approved. And Mother Approved was like a good housekeeping seal. So it had this, Mother Approved seal that went on the products, and the brand was kind of meant to extol the idea that moms could trust us, and it has a seal on it. You can trust it. Similar to the Good Housekeeping, kind of borrowed that, if you will, a bit. And it really was developed off of a situation in which I was up feeding, I think it was my third daughter. I have 4 daughters. And we had them all in 4.5 years. So we were literally just kid to kid to kid. And then it was nighttime and, feeding and eating and 20 diapers a day for like 10 years. And so the aspect of that was I was out feeding one of them somewhere around 3 to 5 in the morning. I don't remember. I remember the window of time, watching television, flipping through while she's finishing her bottle and trying to put her back to sleep. And up comes this commercial. And the commercial is for this product that you put in the car. It's they called it Seat Pets. And you have this kind of doll looking thing. It looks like a dog or a cat. Or they had a penguin, and it's got a pouch in it for like crowns, and you put the seatbelt through it. And then the baby or small child who's in it or young child can lean up against it. They can cuddle it. They can use it. It's a seat pet. Goes on road trips, goes in the car. You can take it out of the car if they want. I'm like, hey, that's a really cool thing. And of course, I'm thinking as a consumer at that moment, because I have these young children. And if you have young children in car seats, you know what happens with them in their heads, and they're like bobble dolls, and you're constantly trying to manage that. And I thought, hey, that's an interesting solution for that. And then I woke up the next morning. I don't remember when, because I was up really late, and it dawned on me that that could be a product we could sell, because it's just, you have to continually reshift your mind from a consumer into a buyer, product seller, and brander. And so when I kind of shifted that gear for a second, I'm like, hey, wait, maybe we could sell one of these. Like, I've never seen one of these before. Let's go check it out. And so long story short, we went to Amazon. We found that they had a presence, but it wasn't very good. We knew they were running a very large marketing infomercial campaign to the $500,000 to $1 million minimum. And so we knew they were putting some serious marketing dollars. So we went out and we developed a brand. We kind of ethically stole the brand from them, if you will. However, we created one called Belt Buddies, and we innovated about 5 differentiating features. We crossed over a little bit of anime caricature with regular regular pets. So the penguins and the dogs and stuff like ours looked a little bit more like anime characters, which was not like a regular cat like the one they had. So we differentiated that. We made a little larger pockets to hold a slightly bigger crown. We reinforced the seams. We filled it with a little different polyfill, an organic fill inside of it. And so we made it just a little bit bigger and a little stronger and a little bit better. We innovated it, right? And we launched it. We had about a 2,000 unit test launch. We put it into the marketplace. We sold all of those in 8 days. So we realized, okay, there's something here. It kicked off a lot of things we hadn't discovered yet about the way trending and Amazon and its product base and some of the ways we watched it do its engine, discover that. And we kept ordering 2,000 units and selling them out the next 16 days. And we were literally getting boats, and we were ordering thousands and thousands of units as we moved that product through the market. We were selling and then moving the price $2, $3, $4 above the price of the other competitor, and we were still selling more. So we discovered that, a lot of people think if I want to sell more products, I will lower my price. Well, what we discovered is test raising your price first. And so we raised our price and we started to sell more. So by the time we started to sell through thousands of those units a month, we were about $5 to $6 more per unit than the competitor previously. And we were kind of ethically hijacking their external marketing that was coming onto Amazon to find their products, but instead they found ours first. And it turned into an amazing case study. It turned into a great brand. We later sold it to a company. They eventually did something stupid with it. Unfortunately, it doesn't appear that it's online anymore. but they kind of lost the opportunity to continue growing what we started. But it turned into a really great thing. So the thing was, innovation over invention. Take 3 to 5 differentiating points and make them better. We literally just went and listened to what the customers said, and they had complaints about the size of the pockets. They had complaints about the squishiness based on this. They had complaints that the seams were ripping. And so we just went in and said, here are the things we fixed about this product. Why is it better? It's got a bigger this. It's got a better seam. It's got better fill. It looks like an anime character. And so we just re-extolled those benefits back to the market. And I can tell you like 3 or 4 other case studies, just most recently, that are exactly in the same process. We follow the same process of increasing the value of the product through the perception of better value, better quality, not a Me Too product, right? Not a tire kicking low profit product. We typically sell things $50 to $150 in price point range. And that gives us a much better profitability. Much better products, okay? A good product experience that creates a really great seller feedback and a positive experience on Amazon, which is important, or anywhere for that matter. And then the products, of course, are loved, emotionally attached, and people want to come back and buy more from our brand. So they find other variations of the product, other shapes, other types, other gear, other accessories. And we had a whole product line mapped out with that to go in and develop continuing products at the different age groups so that mom would follow us through all the other mother approved. So we launched 3 or 4 other types of products into that brand that also did very successful as well, as we just continued to follow moms who appreciated our brands, and we just kept leveling up the different age groups and the different product opportunities into that. It turned into a really great business.
Well, thank you for that example. Before we go into our last question, Neil, share how it is that we can get in touch with you to take advantage of your services.
Yeah. Well, of course, anywhere on social media and stuff, we're all over the place. I have a short last name. In case you hadn't noticed, it's not an acronym. It's not an MBA or a PhD. It's actually TWA, Twa. So you can Google me and you'll find all my social media network. Go to voltagedm.com, voltagedigitalmarketing.com. There's a free podcast that explains exactly how our overview works. So if you sign up for that, you'll get a 3-day training as well. It's about $2,000 free training I give that goes through the 5 topics that all sellers need to do to 10x their business starting out on Amazon, through product development. What the heck do I sell? Going by the numbers to make it profitable, understanding competition and product research, as I just mentioned, understanding Amazon's system and how to take advantage of those sales like we did, and really learn how to get eyeballs on your products inside Amazon. And then the platinum principle, which is that these businesses are worth much, much more later on than at any time during the business building phase. So as you're building that asset, you're building a generational wealth opportunity with e-commerce, and then you can go back and do it all again. And all that's free for y'all to go check it out. Do your due diligence, do your research. You will, if you're interested, speak with me, and I'll make sure that we're a great fit, because it's not for everybody, and I like to make sure that it's a great fit for both of us.
Well, just briefly, tell us about Voltage Account Management Services.
Sure.
And what that can do for us.
So we will typically not take beginners into that. A lot of folks, who maybe have a little more money than time, want to go do the done for you things. I would always caution people to be careful. If you don't have control over the business, you probably shouldn't just trust somebody with 50% of it. And a lot of those done for you things are shopping your way to wealth. They're clearance items. They're finding other products to flip, other branded products. Sometimes they tell you they'll create a private label product for you, but they usually aren't going to use the same kind of strict criteria. And I've seen more often than not about 12 people in the last year come to me and say, hey, I lost 50 to 100 grand in one of those done for you things. So the account management team that we have will not take new people in unless they're doing 50,000 a month in private label products already. So if they've done that much, then we'll look and evaluate whether or not we can add growth and scalability impact to their brand. And if that's all possible, then we would potentially take over full account management of their brand for them and help them grow. If they're a direct to consumer, if they're a Shopify, web commerce, and they're not necessarily on Amazon, then we will help them open the Amazon channel. We have about 3 clients doing more than 38 million a year in e-commerce in the direct to consumer world. And we're working with them to stand up their Amazon businesses right now to take advantage of that channel. So we have operators that are literally managing that side of the business for them. And so far they're doing extremely great. One of our clients is about to hit $1,000 a day in sales in the first 30 days of our account management services. So we will help come in as strategic and management advisors to help them overcome that. And we typically want to see them doing, more than $1 million to $5 million in sales in the direct commerce world before we'll help them overtake management and consulting on the Amazon world. Or if they get raised up in my business builders group and they decide as they make past 50,000 and are on their way up in their business and they say, hey, I want to make this more passive, then one of our operators can step in and pretty much make the entire thing passive from them. After that point, we'll handle their roadmap, business, and all management of the account until time of exit.
Well, it sounds good. So you can also learn more about Neil going to episode 139. As Neil mentioned, he is a returning guest. So glad to have you back with us, Neil. Thank you for sharing your knowledge and wisdom, and look forward to being back with you again.
Thank you for having me on, Alan. Appreciate it.
You bet. Thank you. Enlightened investors, wait, don't go just yet. I just want to remind you about our recently launched webinar that you will not want to miss. If you're at all curious and would like to learn more about how real estate investing can diversify your investment portfolio, alleviate the anxiety associated with Wall Street swings, leverage your 401ks and IRAs to substantially increase the return on your investment, and do all of this with turnkey, hands-off, passive real estate investments, then you'll want to immediately go to stevetalker.com/webinar. In the webinar, we'll also address the common dubious investment schemes that you want to avoid. To access the webinar, go to stevetalker.com/webinar. I look forward to seeing you in the webinar.
Thank you for tuning in to Real Estate Investing Abundance, brought to you by Steve Talker Capital, a company working for passionate professionals like you to develop financial independence built on solid, passive real estate investments. As part of our efforts to make the world a better place, Steve Talker Capital contributes to activities and organizations committed to better understand the equine. These endeavors attempt to enhance the human treatment of horses worldwide. Steve Talker Capital, working for a world where all creatures, great and small, flourish abundantly. For resources to develop your financial independence, connect with us at stevetalker.com.